What's up, guys? I want to touch base on a couple things. I couldn't think of a good theme to do on Wednesdays, and I think what I'm going to do is just not do a video on Wednesdays. And I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do on Thursdays or Friday, but I am going to try to have some themed videos. And in the process of showing you certain projects as I'm working on them, I do like the idea of maybe doing a video on Thursdays showing techniques. So we'll see. But this project that I'm working on, as many of you may know already, is for Mr. Sensitivity. And I was watching one of his videos one day, and he was giving a prayer. It's just motivational stuff. If you don't believe in God, that's fine, but it's nice to have someone with the moral courage to actually get out there and say, I don't know you, but I'm going to pray for you in case you're going through this. I thought it was kind of nice. And then to find out that he recently lost his job. I know that Mr. Sensitivity will land on his feet. He's pretty innovative. I've seen some of his stuff. He's a good guy, good character, and no big deal. But I like his customs, and I know that the 510 is one of his favorite vehicles. So I started working on this. And so I'm going to go over what I've done, what I'm doing, and also talk about some of the techniques. So this is just single cut from the vehicle, and as you can tell, it's the vehicle that was there. And so this project's going to be kind of a fun little roadster. The technique that I use to get a clean cut without getting cut lines, that little scratch aside, that actually came from trying to file down the extra, is basically I use a coping saw blade, like a hobby type blade like one of these, and I use them individually, and I go through the windows up, and I just slowly start to until I get a feed, and I just go slow. I use the B pillar here, and in Car Talk you've got what holds up the roof is the A pillar, the B pillar, and all the way back. The B pillar kind of is my guide point, and I just go super slow as opposed to using a Dremel. So I just do that, and once I make the cut, I started on the back here, working my way this way to get a nice even cut, and as I got close to the edge, I came back and I did this. The reason I did it broken up like that is because you don't want to do too much where you start warping the metal, because everything's got to go back the way it should. Now what's going to end up happening is when I'm done with this, there's not going to be a B pillar. This is going to be like an awkward custom, kind of an open air. You're still going to have the roof, but it's just going to be swooped back. It's going to be somewhat of a pickup truck, but not really a pickup truck. Now I know that they made the 610, the Datsun 610, which is this vehicle here. And on this one I put a nice cool set of Rail Rider tires. It just looks really good on this truck. But because I'm doing a special project, I thought it would be worth it to just go ahead and salvage some pieces from it. And when I say pieces, of course, you know, I don't need the body. I am probably going to be using this tailgate on the 510. So the 620 is going to be donating a lot of pieces. I don't need the front. It's really too much work to try to incorporate these headlights into the truck, and I don't need those seats because I actually have another set of seats. It's a little bit better, even more impressive than the seats that came with it. What I do want is this piece right here, the bed. This was one piece, and if you look closely, the bed has these two little nooks, or I don't know, posts. And that is designed to be a guide for how the bed sits in the truck. It just rests up against there. What I plan on doing is putting this bed, and ironically it fits perfectly. Now I was going to use this inset here, but the wheel wells were too big and it just didn't really line up the way I wanted to, so I didn't use that. I've got to take some depth off of this, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in here. I'm going to take my razor or my X-Acto and just score a line along here, and I'm going to take that much plastic off. Now the interesting thing about the 620 and the 510, Many of you already know this. They're the exact same wheelbase. In fact, shy of the bumper and the air dam, you could pretty much use them both. I mean, it's a perfect fit. But I don't want to do that. In fact, this will actually sit perfectly on that, except for the post and the rear thing there. So I've kind of given it away. This will have an opening tailgate. The B-pillar is going to be gone, and I'm going to be using white glue to sort of keep the windshield up. And I'll probably even do like a tiny little lip there to kind of keep it all together. The reason it's going to have a tailgate is because it is going to be housing this fantastic little motorcycle that I showed in the first video. And that's basically going to be the gist of it. I'm going to make a little ramp, and then that'll just sit there. So Seth, you'll have a fun time painting this fantastic motorcycle. I don't know how I'm going to do the bed. I may just leave it all plastic and put it all together and let you mess with it. But the next technique I want to show you is I'm going to make it a left-hand drive. I'm sorry, right-hand drive. And I've got this interior. I'm not exactly sure what car it's from, but the bucket seats are race, and they're a lot more detailed. And I know you like doing detailed seats, Seth. Can't really use this because of this rounded thing here. When you're looking at the original seats from the 510, you've got a very thin line that's more pronounced. So what I've done is very painstakingly, you rest the saw blade up against the top of the plastic, and you just slowly start sliding in. And if you'll get an idea of what's going on here, is I just slice into it, get it just slowly but surely to the point that I want, and then I'll come back with an X-Acto with this metal as a kind of a guide behind it, and I'll trim away the excess that I don't need. And then that way, and then I'll come back and I'll do the same thing, lining this up with this and putting it there. And there's a couple other tools that I could use. I have a very, and I suggest you get something like this, but get you a good quality miter box for hobbyists. This could sit there kind of flush, and so wait and test, you can sort of see the line, how it just follows that line. The trick is holding it down in place as you run the saw through it. It can be kind of tricky, but it gives you a straight line. Another tool that you might want to consider getting is a nice little engineering gauge for doing precision measurements. This for inside cuts, and then you can use the tips here to scribe it. It's got a lock so you can leave it in place. And then I also use this a lot, which is a tiny, basically square. I use it just by setting it up like this, and I can cut my my styrene, use it as a straight edge in that sense. And you can also get one of these, which is basically a hobby clamp for holding stuff up. So that's all I'm going to show you today for this car. You're going to see that it's going to be housing a motorcycle. It's basically using interior pieces from this truck. It's going to be using seats from this insert, and I'm going to try to find out which car that came from. I can't remember offhand. It's going to use the bed from the 620. The wheels are going to come from, and I'd like to get your input from this, it's either going to come from this vehicle with the blue tires, or this vehicle from the with the gray tires. Reason is I kind of like the shiny blue. This was just a crappy, it was soft plastic out of the package, so I'll probably use this vehicle as an example for Take Apart Tuesday in case you ever want to do something cool like make it a convertible like this, where it just did a single cut on the A-pillar and the windscreen. That's it. Listen, I hate these long videos. I know you guys hate them too, but I hope you appreciate what I'm doing. Mr. Sensitivity, heads up, I'll try to have this ready for you by the end of the week, and then I'll pick my next car freak, probably Pooch, because this video is another quality Pooch Man production.